It's a dirty job, but someone's gotta grow them. Alright folks, so you're thinking about growing pumpkins. Good on ya. It's a task that connects you to the dirt. Pumpkins aren't just for Halloween, you know. They're a part of history. People have been growing these gourds for thousands of years. From pies to decorations, they're pretty versatile. It's a fun project too, especially if you like getting your hands a little mucky. Now, growing pumpkins isn't like assembling flat-pack furniture. There's no perfect manual with confusing diagrams. It's more like a conversation with the earth. Sometimes she's agreeable, sometimes, well, she throws a curveball, or a squash bug. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The challenge, the reward of seeing that tiny seed sprout, then watching it grow into a sprawling vine, and finally, a big, beautiful pumpkin. It's a kind of magic, a dirty, gritty kind of magic. Growing pumpkins might not seem as dirty to some, but it takes work, it takes patience, it takes a willingness to learn. You'll be kneeling in the mud, you'll be sweating under the sun, but when you finally hoist that homegrown pumpkin, that's a satisfaction that's hard to beat. Let's get started. Before you even think about touching that soil, you gotta pick your seeds. This ain't as simple as grabbing the first packet you see. There are more pumpkin varieties out there than excuses for not doing a dirty job. You got your classic jack-o'-lantern types, perfect for carving. Then there are the pie pumpkins, smaller, sweeter, better for cooking. Think sugar pie or Cinderella. Don't try making a pie from a carving pumpkin unless you like stringy, bland mush. Then you've got the giants, the Atlantic giants. These are the behemoths you see at county fairs. They can weigh hundreds, even thousands of pounds. Growing one of these is a serious commitment. For most of us, something a bit more manageable is the way to go. Consider your space, your climate, and what you actually want to do with the pumpkin. Read those seed packets carefully. You also need to think about vining versus bush types. Vining pumpkins, well, they vine. They spread out like a teenager on a couch. Bush types are more compact. They're better behaved, good for smaller gardens or even large containers. Buy good quality seeds. Good seeds are the foundation of your future pumpkin empire. Alright, you've got your seeds. You're probably itching to get them in the ground. Hold your horses, partner. Timing is everything with pumpkins. They don't like it too cold. They don't like it too hot. The soil temperature needs to be just right. We're talking about 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit or even a bit warmer, about 4 inches deep. If you plant too early in cold, wet soil, those seeds will just sit there and rot. Wait until after the last spring frost date for your area. This is crucial. A late frost can zap your tender young pumpkin seedlings faster than you can say pumpkin spice latte. Check with your local extension office or an old-timer gardener. They usually know the frost dates like the back of their hand. Pumpkins are warm weather crops. They need a long growing season, typically 75 to 120 days, depending on the variety. So you need to count backwards from your first expected fall frost. If you plant too late, you might get a nice vine, but no pumpkins before Jack Frost comes knocking. Warm soil, no frost danger. That's your cue. Get that timing right, and you're one step closer to pumpkin glory. Now we're talking. Time to get that soil ready. Pumpkins are hungry plants and thirsty. They need good dirt to thrive. You're looking for a spot that gets full sun, at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight a day. More is better. Pumpkins love to bask. If you plant them in the shade, you'll get lots of leaves, but not many pumpkins. Next up, drainage. Pumpkins hate wet feet. If their roots sit in soggy soil, they'll rot. So you need well-draining soil. How do you check? Dig a hole, fill it with water. If it drains in a few hours, you're golden. If it's still a puddle the next day, you've got work to do. You might need to build raised beds or mounds. This lifts the roots up out of the muck. Let's talk about the good stuff, organic matter. Pumpkins are heavy feeders. They crave rich, fertile soil. This is where compost comes in, or well-rotted manure. Spread a generous layer, a few inches thick, over your pumpkin patch. Then till it in, or dig it in deep. Your pumpkins will thank you for it. Getting the soil just right is like laying a strong foundation for a house. It's essential for a bumper crop of pumpkins. Section 5, Seed Secrets. Planting for future pumpkin glory. Alright, the soil is prepped. The sun is shining, hopefully. The time is right. Let's plant some pumpkin seeds. This isn't rocket science, but a little care goes a long way. Most folks plant pumpkin seeds in hills or mounds. This helps with drainage and warms the soil faster. Build up a little mound of soil, about a foot across and a few inches high. If you're planting vining types, Space these hills about 4 to 8 feet apart. Those vines need room to stretch their legs. Now, how deep do you plant these little guys? About 1 inch deep. Poke about 4 to 5 seeds into each hill. Once the seedlings are up and have a few true leaves, you'll thin them out. Keep the 2 or 3 strongest seedlings per hill. If you're dealing with bush varieties, you can plant them a bit closer, maybe 3 to 5 feet apart. They don't sprawl as much. After planting, water gently but thoroughly. Keep it consistently moist until the seeds germinate. This can take a week to 10 days depending on the soil temperature and moisture. It's the start of something big. Section 6. Water everywhere, keeping your pumpkins hydrated, but not drowned. Your pumpkin seeds have sprouted. Congratulations, you're officially a pumpkin parent. Now comes the ongoing job of keeping them happy, and a big part of that is water. Pumpkins are thirsty plants, especially when they start setting fruit. Those big leaves and growing gourds need a lot of moisture. Think about it, a pumpkin is mostly water, so consistent watering is key. Don't let the soil dry out completely between waterings, especially during hot, dry spells. How much water? Well, that depends. On your soil, the weather, the size of the plants. A general rule is about 1 to 2 inches of water per week. But it's better to water deeply and less often rather than shallowly and every day. Deep watering encourages deep roots, and deep roots make for stronger, more resilient plants. Water at the base of the plant. Try to keep the leaves dry. Wet leaves can lead to fungal diseases. A soaker hose or drip irrigation is great for this. The best time to water is in the morning. This gives the leaves a chance to dry off if they do get wet. Watering in the evening can leave them damp overnight, inviting mildew. Stick your finger in the soil. If it's dry an inch or 2 down, it's time to water. Consistent, deep watering at the right time. That's the secret handshake for happy, hydrated pumpkins. Section 7. Food for thought and for pumpkins. Fertilizing your future feast. Pumpkins are like growing teenagers. They have enormous appetites. We talked about prepping the soil with compost and manure. That's a great start. But these plants are ambitious. They're trying to produce giant fruit in just a few months, so they might need a little extra food along the way. This is where fertilizer comes in. But hold on, don't just go dumping chemicals everywhere. More isn't always better. You can burn your plants or get a lot of leaves and no pumpkins. When the vines start to run, that's a good time for their first supplemental feeding. A balanced fertilizer, something like a 10-10-10, can work, or an organic option like fish emulsion or kelp meal. Follow the instructions on the package. Too much nitrogen early on can give you a jungle of leaves but delay flowering and fruiting. Once the plants start to flower and set fruit, their needs change. They'll want less nitrogen and more phosphorus and potassium. Feeding pumpkins is a job that requires a bit of finesse, not just brute force. A little bit of the right stuff at the right time is much better than a lot of the wrong stuff. Section 8. Battle stations. Dealing with pumpkin pests and other annoyances. Ah, pests. The uninvited guests at every garden party. And pumpkins, unfortunately, have their fair share of admirers. Squash bugs are a common menace. These grayish-brown bugs and their little egg clusters can do some serious damage. They suck the sap out of the leaves, leaving them wilted and brown. Hand-picking them off is one way to deal with them. Drop them in a bucket of soapy water. It's a dirty job, but satisfying. Early morning is a good time to catch them when they're sluggish. Then there are squash vine borers. These are the ninjas of the pumpkin patch. The adult is a moth that lays eggs at the base of the stem. The larvae then bore into the stem and eat the plant from the inside out. You might see a hole near the base of the stem with some sawdust-like frass. Nasty. You can try to prevent them by wrapping the base of the stems with foil or row covers when the plants are young. If you find a borer, you can try some delicate surgery with a sharp knife to remove it. It's a bit like being a plant doctor. Section 9. The grand finale. Harvesting, curing, and enjoying your hard-earned pumpkins. The moment you've been waiting for. After weeks, maybe months of dirt, sweat, and battling bugs, it's harvest time. How do you know when your pumpkins are ready? First, check the color. Most pumpkins will turn a deep, solid color, usually orange, but it depends on the variety. The skin should be hard. Try to pierce it with your fingernail. If it resists, that's a good sign. Tap the pumpkin, it should sound hollow. The stem will also start to harden and dry out. These are all clues that your pumpkin is mature. When it's time to harvest, use a sharp knife or pruning shears to cut the pumpkin from the vine. Leave a few inches of stem attached, at least 2 to 4 inches. This handle helps the pumpkin last longer. Don't carry the pumpkin by its stem though. If it breaks off, the pumpkin will rot much faster. Handle your beauties with care. You've worked hard for them. Lift them from the bottom. Now, for a crucial step many beginners miss: curing. Curing hardens the skin further, heals any minor scratches, and improves the flavor and storage life.